areas. So we're looking forward to that presentation where we will hear what members of the diaspora have been doing in terms of helping a little
Yes,
bit about the issue of cybercrime and how pervasive it can be.
very true, very true. We have had so many of the cybercrime scares over the recent years. At one point, you didn't hear anything about them, and then it started. Everybody was worrying about their PIN, right? Everybody was worrying about machines at the ATM that would
Yes.
steal a thing, of getting a phone call over WhatsApp from an online number. There are so many different ways. Computers are wonderful, but they do open up certain loopholes, and of course policy and our government and our people overall have to be educated,
Yes.
and also the policy has to be developed to protect people against this new threat, because Jamaica can't be the place of choice to live, work, raise children, and do business if you're worried about all your funds, you know.
That is so true. And there's actually a cyber incident response team
Right,
in the
right, right.
Ministry of Technology that has been established, and one of their main goals is to actually is public education, to
Definitely.
actually tell people that we're living in an era now where you have to be vigilant, you have to be protecting your information.
Right.
It's not business as usual.
Right, right, right. I really would have to say that all of the sessions so far have really focused on one main thing: protecting our human capital.
Yes.
The health, the education, and now the physical safety of not just your person, but also
Your
of your
information.
your investment, of your possessions, and all of that. It really is crucial, and I know the topics will be interesting. The questions always are interesting, and the presentations from the persons who have been invited to speak. And one other such person will be Dr. Leroy Logan, who is the former senior superintendent and of the Met Police of the UK. He also will be presenting to us this afternoon in the third and final plenary session of day one of the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference.
Yes, so we're looking forward to that presentation. And of course, there are some projects that are being pursued and planned by the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, because we know that our diaspora has a wealth of information, a wealth of
Absolutely.
knowledge. And not just that, they don't want to keep it to themselves, they actually want to share it with us.
Definitely.
And I believe 1,200 persons have been registered for this diaspora conference. We know some of them are residing here in Jamaica, but a lot of them are delegates from overseas.
Yes.
And what they have said to us, Theo, is that they welcome the fact that after these presentations, then they will get a chance to ask questions and to interact with ministers. During the two presentations earlier, we saw persons interacting, persons
Definitely.
voicing their concern, talking about and
Yes.
some of those we know are being resolved, including the one about that ambulance for
Right,
Hanover,
right,
which
right,
the
right.
Minister of Health has said that they are going to include in next year's budget some way of getting that
Right.
ambulance
It
cleared.
was it
So,
was a partnership with the finance
right.
ministry, moratorium,
Yes.
all of that.
And
Right.
they're going to actually facilitate getting that off the wharves and into the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. But getting things done is the main aim of this. There is no point to partnership together, which is the theme of the conference, if
Right.
things don't actually get done. And I'm sure that everyone here, both the ministers, the presenters, and the delegates, are certainly want to get things done.
That is true.
We could see that in the questions, and we certainly could see that in the answers. They were clear, to the point, and they give good information.
And the delegates who are here will actually get to give back in a tangible way on Thursday, when
Yes.
that will be the conference officially ends on Wednesday, but on Thursday it's the Diaspora Day of Service. So they will actually get a chance to go out into communities and to give back.
Definitely, and we do have a list of some of the projects, and at some point we probably can share them with our viewers, some of the things that will be happening, because we know that they are not limited only to the delegates. I believe the Minister
of National Security has arrived.
and so we are about to
Minister
cut
Robert
to
Montagu.
the main presentation on stage. Thanks for
Ladies
watching.
and gentlemen,
Remember
we're
to
about
share.
to begin the afternoon plenary. I'm going to do just one simple task. I'm going to introduce the moderator, and then he'll take over, and he'll be responsible for the rest of the proceedings. We're happy this afternoon to have as our moderator Professor Anthony Harriott, who is an expert on all areas dealing with crime intervention and prevention. He's my colleague from the University of the West Indies, and I have great pleasure in handing over to him.
Thank you, Prof. Ying. That was very generous of you. I'll be equally generous to the members of the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this, the third plenary session, which is entitled Safer for All Are We, Protecting Our Human Capital. We have a panel of 3 persons. First among equals is Honorable Minister Montagu, who is the Minister of National Security. He has a very outstanding, distinguished record of public service that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are well aware of. He's the main reason why we're starting our panel this late, because my understanding is, and I actually witnessed it myself, that he was busy kissing all the girls. So I'm sure you will excuse him, because that's good enough reason. Our other panelists are Dr. Leroy Logan, who is an ex-superintendent of police in the Met, that is popularly known as Scotland Yard. He's an expert in community-based policing, so we look forward to hearing his presentation. And our third panelist is Dr. Rupert Francis. He's a retired JDF captain, and he's head of the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force. Now, each panelist, well, no. The first among equals in our panel, Minister Montagu, will have 10 minutes to make his presentation, and the lesser equals will have 8. Now, I see the minister signaling no, no, no to me, and I take that to mean he's going to do a shorter presentation. I'm absolutely delighted, Minister, because I'm instructed to ensure that we hold you, or hold all the speakers, to the time allocated. Okay, so we'll be through with the presentations in under half an hour, and then we will have a discussion, at the end of which I will itemize the takeaways, and that would conclude our panel and my duties and responsibilities. So first, Honorable Minister Montagu.
Senator Charles, you are required up here. Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow citizens of the most wonderful country that God has created. A pleasant good afternoon. It is the worst time to speak after lunch, because there are some of us who would suffer from a little thing known as the itis. And I want to be politically correct, so I won't call the other parts. But it seems as if I'm not in a room with Jamaicans because you sound rather uppity. So my fellow Jamaicans, good afternoon. Why that don't sound like, you know, how long now some of you people have been here for more than 2 days? So nobody don't get any nice rent a yam and little saltfish. No potato pudding, no toto, no beverage. No man, something wrong, Prof. You need to correct that. But ladies and gentlemen, there seems to have been a mix-up in communications, but if you have Christopher Surgery in the room, it's not surprising. I was told to come and make a presentation. And in the true sense of the university, Prof, a presentation is indeed a presentation. And the officers in my ministry went out of their way to produce a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to seek your permission to present what was given. And why I'm taking it so personal, Prof, it is the first time the officers have been able to get me to read from a script. So I really wanted to follow their direction. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome home. And I am very pleased to have been invited, and the Prime Minister asked me to extend his own personal greetings because he released me from cabinet, which I have to go back to cabinet when I'm finished, but the cabinet believes that this session is sufficiently important that the business of the country ought to be put on hold while we speak to our fellow Jamaicans from far and overseas. In other words, we are showing that we appreciate your contribution, and we are not only looking to Western Union and barrels, because we know you have much more to contribute. The Ministry of National Security, however, is a ministry that is very misunderstood. A lot of persons believe we are the Ministry of the Police Force. But the Ministry of National Security covers the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Defense Force, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, which is here, the Firearm Licensing Authority, which a representative is supposed to be here, the Citizen Security and Justice Program, the Caribbean Regional Drug Enforcement Training Center, the Department of Correctional Services, the Private Security Regulation Authority, the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force, and the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicines. So the national security portfolio is wide as it is varied. My fellow Jamaicans, we are celebrating 55 years as a nation. Unfortunately, a lot of our citizens are feeling frightened, helpless, and powerless in the face of crime. It is estimated that crime costs this beloved country of ours some 5% of our GDP. Instructively, I would like to also inform you that the majority of the crimes committed is targeted and it is not random. Therefore, if we unite as a people, we can overcome what confronts us. In addition to that, our nation has some 497 miles of unmonitored coastline. And along that, we have 14 formal points of entry, where you have X-ray machines, police, soldiers, dogs, all kinds of things, Port Security Corps, everything. Yet every week, you find instances of drugs, illegal goods and custom goods and weapons being discovered. Last week, we discovered 15 weapons, including 7 high-powered rifles coming on the wharf. Along our 497 miles of coastline, in a recent survey by the ministry, we discovered 145 illegal points of entry. If so much things are being pushed through our 14 legal points of entry, can you imagine what is coming through the 145 points of illegal entry that is not monitored? We are confronted in this country with what started out as a drugs for guns trade with Haiti and South America Then it morphed into a meat for guns trade. Now it is a anything for guns trade, especially with Haiti. You find persons losing goats, cows, and even donkeys that are killed and shipped off for Haiti for meat, water, clothes, shoes. Anything is going in exchange for weapons. Recently, we had a triple murder in southern Clarendon because the farmers there discovered that two of the persons that were playing dominoes were the main persons taking their goats by night and taking them to Haiti. So they administered jungle justice. And we had a triple murder. The background to some of our situation is that Jamaica has two major problems: the illegal gun and drugs. And we organized in the 60s and 70s around politics for the protection of the vote. We helped to organize some young men in our communities to ensure that the vote went a certain way. It morphed into the ganja trade, providing the funding to find the guns. Then in the 90s and 2000s, it shifted to the cocaine trade. And then since 2000 onwards, it is lottery scamming, deportees, and I'm told not to use that word. It is the what is the what? The involuntary migrant. You have to forgive me, I'm from country, so I don't know some of these fancy things. I know them as deportees, but I'm told not to use that word. Organized crime and cybercrime. A lot of you might be a little taken aback by the last one, cyber. But we are confronted in this country with a new wave. Recently, Mocha took down a network that attacked our banking sector, that actually tried to attack the national security network, the police, the army. They attacked the Ministry of Health, and they attacked a lot of the labs within the health sector. And they got persons' test results and lab works, and persons got a phone call to say, if you do not lodge a certain amount at a certain time, we will make public your lab results. When the police intervened and took the laptop of the mastermind, he told them that they can search it, but they will find nothing because he's not involved. And the police did, and they found nothing. And then they sent for another police officer who is our expert in cyber crimes. And when he went on and broke the firewall and the code, the gentleman said, Jesus Christ, them police like that, they are Jamaica. Because a lot of people think that the days when the persons who go into the police force was that little youth whenever they go to primary school and him never do good at gardening. So you send him go join the police force because that's the only thing is available for him because I'm his Mary workless boy. Those days are long gone. But we are confronted with this. Just imagine, I think we have Jamaica National and NCB as lead sponsors here. One of our banks in this country has 1.7 million saving accounts. A lot of us, when we get our bank statements, like me, we have to check it properly, down to the last cent, like Prof and Prof, because they have benefited from the 1.5, they don't check. They just throw it down. But persons like me check very carefully. And even that, I normally only check the dollars section. I leave the cents. But can you imagine? You put down that sign, my darling. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? My dear, don't let anybody set you up here. You look like a nice, decent young lady. So you just put down the sign. I am here having a conversation with my fellow citizens. And I came here to be very blunt and to be very forthright with my citizens. And I will not be constrained by time. So I apologize to the organizers who want to give me a set amount of time. What we're talking about is the future of this nation. What I'm talking about affects every Jamaican, whether you live here or you don't live here. And I've been told by the local media that I don't reason enough with my fellow citizens. Well, I come here today to reason with my fellow citizens. So anybody on any haste, you may leave now. So, Prof, we have an arrangement. So can you imagine people taking 5 cents from 1.7 million accounts every day? And they did that. And then they increased it from 5 cents to 10 cents. And then they moved from 10 to $1. $1.7 million per day. Although Ambassador Marks will tell you that the Jamaican dollar don't mean much. But 1.7 divided by 130 is about how much, Ambassador? About 18,000 US dollars per day was being skimmed from a bank. A lot of countries recently were hit by some ransomware, malware, I'm being told by Mr. Francis. You know what our guys did in Jamaica? They took the virus and they Jamaicanized it. So the whole world was hit by this virus that started in Eastern Europe. And my fellow citizens Jamaicanized it. These persons are bright. And we are on a move now to capture that brightness and to use it for good and not for bad. So I urge you while you are here to take very good care of your credit cards. Do not allow them to be out of your sight when you are supporting the cane farmers and their byproducts. Because I know a lot of persons will be supporting the cane farmers. And there is a thing known as Mr. Ray and his nephew. And a lot of persons will be utilizing those products. But when the bill comes, you walk with the card or let them come with the machine by your table. Do not allow your credit card to come out of your sight. Some of you see this visit as vacation. Even then, be careful. Two of the things that affects us and is helping to contribute to this crime picture, two major things. That is there. It is what I call corruption and silence. Corruption, because almost at every level of our society, you have corrupt people. And who will corrupt any system for their own personal benefit. And when we say corruption, a lot of people only say it's the politicians who are corrupt. But the politicians are from the society. And when an office worker carries their children's homework to be photocopied on the company's photocopy machine, that is corruption. When you walk out in the afternoon with 5 packs of paper clips to go home, that is corruption. When the police officer stops you to give you a ticket because you are not wearing your seatbelt, and you say to the officer, "What can you do for me, officer?" That is corruption. And when you finally get the ticket, but you call the soup and the assistant soup and the commissioner to talk to the little officer because he give you a ticket, that is corruption. And then the silence from good upstanding citizens who know business. Because we hear the gunshot down the road. We hear the screams of that husband being battered by that wife. Silence. We look through the window and we know it's Miss Matty Boy fire the gun. But silence. But when that gun come to our house, we want everybody to talk. To every crime that is committed, at least 3 persons know. But the silence. Just like how when I said the wife is beating the husband, silence. But anyhow I had said the husband beating the wife, applause and upon applause. But we have seen an increase in reporting of males who are being battered by their spouses. We have seen an increase, an 11% increase in those reports. And it is good because some men are suffering in silence. And we have to break this silence. Crime, therefore, is not only my problem, and it's not your problem, and it's not the government's problem, it is our problem. And if we are going to treat with it, we must first admit and own it before we can begin to treat with it. It's like an alcoholic. You have to acknowledge and admit. Well, we must admit that crime is our problem. And in many ways, a lot of us have contributed to crime, even by our silence. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I just saw it go. The statistics have shown that January to June this year compared to January to June last year, there has been a serious reduction in the 7 major categories of crime, in 5 rather. We have seen a decrease in aggravated assault by 15%, in break-ins by 8%, in larceny by 32%, in rape by 17%. As a matter of fact, the only place where rape is up is in Manchester, where it's up by 4%. And we have treated with that situation, and the 4 persons who are suspected have been taken into custody. We have seen a decrease in robbery by 26%. Where we have seen an increase is in shooting by 20% and in murder by 19.7%, another 20%. But Jamaicans index crime by murder. So no matter what else is going down, as long as murder is going up, crime is going up. And murder is up right now. But when you aggravate all of the figures, overall, there has been a 5% decrease in crime in 2017 up to June compared to 2016. However, the perception is that crime is up because murder is up. I have some good news. And I want to inform you that there is no quick fix to reducing crime. There is no instant solution because there is no switch to turn crime on or off. We must unite as a people and engage in focused action against crime. We must help the police and not the criminal. There is coming a day in this country when all of us individually will be called on to pick a side. Are we on the side of good or on the side of evil? That day is fast coming. The government of Jamaica came into power last February. And if you listen to some persons, Brother Ramakan, crime started on the 25th of February, 2016. But not Nogoso. But we have placed before this country what we call Plan Secure Jamaica that has 10 elements: public order, cyber crimes, justice, border security, education, terrorism, corruption, the protection of critical infrastructure, economic security, especially within the financial system, and crime and violence. Within the crime and violence portfolio and profile, I don't even want to comment on the 10 points because I don't want the young lady to lose her job. We have, the Ministry of National Security has carved out as ours exclusively point number 10, crime and violence. And within that, we have devised a 5-pillar crime reduction strategy. And pillar number 1 speaks to swift and sure justice processes. It takes a very long time for cases to be heard and tried in Jamaica. Many times, by the time the case comes for trial, the witness dead, the victim dead, and the perpetrator dead. It takes an average of 9 years for a case to be tried. And it says justice delayed is justice denied. And the delays also increase the pain and the anguish of the victims. Because, you know, too many of us only speak about the rights of the perpetrator and we ignore the rights of the victims and their family. There are too many suffering where persons are murdered, homes invaded, and all I'm hearing about is the rights of the dirty criminal. And I'm not hearing anything about the rights of the victim and their family and the pain and trauma that is caused to them. We have over 40,000 cases as backlog in our system. Our justice system is antiquated. In my parish of St. Mary, we have a thing known as circuit. That started in the old days in the 18-something of something. When judge used to ride on a horse and it take him 2 weeks to reach St. Mary. And then him have case for 2 weeks and then him ride him horse and go somewhere else. And this is 2017 and we still have that system. In circuit in St. Mary, for a 2-week sitting, the judge had on his case list 273 cases to be tried in 2 weeks. He was able to do 35, and that was a record. So if you are trying a case and you're going to do it in half day, what justice are we giving? And these are some of the issues that we have to confront and treat with. And that is why we have this backlog. We have to work harder to bring more criminals to justice with the appropriate penalties. And I want to inform you that the Jamaican criminals are not afraid of dying. Because who is out there now with the weapons is some little 14, 15, and 16-year-olds that have no respect for nobody. 20 years ago, if Captain went back up to Kellits, even if somebody don't know him, then I say, boy, a captain that we hear about him and him related to so and then know him and he come from one. And them say, morning, captain, and I have a little respect for him. Today, them a little dog out, boy, I have respect for nobody. For nobody. And they are not afraid of dying because they have nothing to live for. Can you imagine a little 14-year-old youth that they caught recently at Coronation Market with a 9mm because he's part of a lottery scamming network? 14-year-old. There was another one that they caught in Barrytown in St. James with an M16 and over $100,000 in his pocket. When you have a 14-year-old, you own 3 or 4 mid-sized vehicle and a 10-bedroom house, who can talk to him? Who can talk to him? So they have nothing to live for. So they wash the cars with champagne and Hennessy. And they spend as if there is no tomorrow. This is what we are confronted with. And when they die, the whole community turn out, marching band, and chariot drawing the coffin behind the hearse in a glass. And then they paint murals in the community and everybody comes out, the boy innocent, he was an angel, him never do nothing. So the little youth looking on, say blouse and skirt, then I saw them treat man when man dead, I saw me want them treat me. So him turn bad man too. So you find that in America and in England, Mr. Soup, it's a mark of process to go to prison and come out. It's a badge of honor. Not in Jamaica. Our guys are fearful of prison. Because when they go to prison in Jamaica, Professor Ying, cock your ears. When they go to prison in Jamaica, some of them get fixed up. And they don't want to be fixed up. A bad man not supposed to get fixed up. But I'm being politically correct, so I will say no more. But if you read between the lines, and if you read yesterday's Sunday Gleaner headline, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say fix up. We have to reduce the delays and try cases in a more timely manner. We have to strengthen the work of the police to prosecute and to convict through the courts. And some of the solutions that we are putting to treat with swift and sure justice processes is we have put new vigor and energy in the restorative justice process and program. When you commit a crime, the proceeds that you have must be taken to help and to give back to the victims of the crime. We are now in the process of employing more retired judges and court staff to help to clear the backlog. We are moving to digitalize court records. I've been into too many court offices when you see the files pile up in the office, in the passage, and then on top of that now, especially those in the passage, they file them red because the cleaner come with like a red oak over the weekend. We have amended the plea bargaining act, and we are now in the process of employing 20 Jamaican lawyers, one to be attached to each police division, to help the police to make better cases and to prepare their case files, to become the court liaison officer between the police and the courts, and also to accompany the police whenever they are called by INDICOM or any other oversight body to be questioned. These are some of the things we are treating with to improve on the justice system. Pillar number 2 is crime prevention through social development. We have seen over the years a breakdown of the family structure and poor parenting. We have seen many homes where the children run the homes and not the parent. No longer children go to Sunday school and Sabbath school. We have seen a situation where more and more children are being dragged up and they are not being brought up. We have seen much more teenage pregnancies. We've seen children graduating from high school and primary school, and if they see their name Pambula, they eat it. We've seen an increase in absenteeism of students at the primary and high school level, and we have seen a prevalence of gang activities in our schools. We're seeing too many barrel children, where parents have to leave Jamaica to work overseas and then they send back barrel, and there's no adult supervision. These are some of the problems that confront us in terms of social development. We have seen too many children that have no name. Absolutely no name. You go into some communities because 40% of the Jamaican population live in informal settlements, says the Ministry of Housing. You go into some settlements and you ask for Leroy Bryan, and everybody look at you like you curse bad word, because nobody knows Leroy Bryan. And when you describe him to the shopkeeper, him just say, oh, it's Pinky. And you say, yes, it's Pinky. And you say, where Pinky live? Him say, up the road. And you walk up the road, and say, through the lane. And you say, which lane? Top side, the bottom side, round the corner, sir. And then when you finally reach top side, the bottom side, round the corner, and say, you're looking for Pinky, somebody asks you, which Pinky? Fat Pinky or Maga Pinky? And then when you tell them that it's Maga Pinky you're looking for, and them say, go down the lane for her, you go down the lane, you say, you're looking for Maga Pinky. Then say, bleach out Pinky or black Pinky, sir. That's the reality that we face. And many of these communities, the garbage truck cannot come in. The police car can't go in. And the ambulance can't go in. So we need a multidisciplinary effort that will address the root causes of crime and not the symptoms. We have been treating with the symptoms of crime in this country for too long. We are now going to be treating with the root causes of crime. And I want to make it very clear that this administration, led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, is determined to spend the political capital that is necessary to correct the root causes of crime. Because there comes a time in our history when some tough decisions has to be made. We are a one-seat government, but I am predicting that we will be the most stable government in the history of this nation. Because we are attacking crime at its root and not at its symptom. And anytime any guy wants to challenge the government in the parliament, they can come. But the people of Jamaica is standing on the side of right and not on the side of wrong. It is time that we as a nation put down the hypocrisy and treat with this matter. And my Prime Minister has been very clear. The time for talking is over. It's implementation time. So some of the root causes under social development is the lack of proper housing, inadequate family income, poor parent-child relations, and poor educational outcomes. And therefore, some of the solutions we are putting is a more structured homework after-school program, children curfews, and this was highlighted by Senior Superintendent McGregor in St. James, and it worked very well. Parenting workshops and programs being underwritten by the Citizen Security and Justice Program. Sports and recreational programs as the I Volunteer and the Montagu Bay Football Academy that is being spearheaded by my permanent secretary, Mrs. Diane McIntosh, who is sitting over there. And if you see Miss Diane, you would think that you would never know that she's the forward on the team in Norwood. Community violence intervention through the PMI. Life skills and technical skills through the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force. We are doubling the amount of youngsters coming into the cadet force. We are working and treating with a number of social situations, some of which I won't even want to tell you. Because through the CSJP, we're also doing case management of specific persons and managing through the whole process their case. What we have a thing in this country, we start some good things, and then we put them down halfway. And then we have another style. One administration starts something, and then when the new one comes in, we put it down. Well, this minister is of the firm view that what is good for Jamaica is good for Jamaica. And it don't matter who started, as long as it's good for Jamaica. When I took office, I discovered an app designed and started by the former administration, the Stay Alert app, had 2,500 downloads. When I went through it as a country boy, I said, this is the thing. And we must engage, one politician called it the articulate minority. And I engaged him, and now we have over 120 downloads of the Stay Alert app. Started by another administration, pushed by me. It's good for Jamaica. The parish consultative committees were started by KD Knight and put on. I think it's a good thing. So we employ Celia Champini, and Mrs. Cora was there before, and we have now started back the 14 consultative committees, started by a comrade, pushed again by a Labourite. This is Jamaica. And pillar number 3 is situational prevention. My mother always told me, and Audrey, I think you know my mother, always told me that sometimes it's the situation that forces you into a certain lifestyle. Is lie? Or is true? And my mother was a wise woman, you know. So after she had me, she never have no more children. A very wise lady. Ms. Trudy. Some of the problems we have communities without proper street names and street addresses. You have a situation where you have a piece of land. Man come and invest, a wealthy Jamaican from California, to build a hotel. And then all of a sudden you give a good mason a work. Him don't have anywhere to live, so him lean up 2 pieces of zinc and a piece of ply. And then boy, the work plenty, so him send for him friend, who lean up another piece of zinc and another piece of ply. And because him have to work so hard, now him see Miss Matty daughter pass, so him ask her if she can help him cook. And she agree for a price. And she's cooking for him, and them going and find, and him send for 2 more him friend. And then build up another little lean-to. And then all of a sudden, because him come in so late and she serve the food, it's too late for she to go back home, so she starts sleep. And then the next thing you know, pop, she pregnant. And because she have young baby now and him is working and she have to be cooking, so she asks Granny if he can help her watch the baby. And then after a little while, Granny dead. And because she don't want Granny duppy walk for her, she bury Granny right next door. And that is how an informal settlement has begun in Jamaica. Because once you bury one dead, you know you can't move. Me wrong or am I right? So, Prof, when I tell you that I come here to reason with my fellow Jamaicans, you know, I don't want nobody draw my jacket. We have communities that the police vehicles cannot patrol. And we have communities that there is absolutely no delivery of social services. And the police is left to be the social agency. And the Jamaican police force was never intended to be a social agency. And they are being tasked with the responsibility of delivering social services. And that is not right. So some of the things we are doing, that we are reducing the opportunities for certain crimes. And we are reducing crime, we are pushing crime prevention through environmental designs. So as of now, you can have no community with more than 400 units that the developer does not have to make space for a police post, or they have to put in a CCTV camera system. Take the community of Old Harbour. The Old Harbour police station was built about 70 years ago. It's a 50-man station. And in the last 5 years, an additional 5,000 housing units have been built in and around Old Harbour. And the police station remain the same, with 1 vehicle and 50 men. I don't even think it's so much as 50 men. Because unknown to a lot of people, the police is operating at 70% of its establishment strength. We are 3,000 men and women short in the police force as we speak. And people tell me I mustn't say it, but I am talking to Jamaicans and I'm bearing my soul today. So we're putting everything in context and we're putting everything on the table. So we are started a program of upgrading informal housing settlements and surveying and giving persons titles. The Ministry of Local Government has started a renewed program of fixing street lights. Because a lot of people take out the street lights. Some borrow them, some broke them. And a very vigorous program of zinc fence removal. We are pushing the national identification system, because a lot of Jamaicans have no ID. So it will be mandatory, the NIDS. We are moving to develop a national CCTV network. We have 4 towns that have CCTV: Maypen, Mandeville, Ocho Rios, and Montego Bay. but all 4 stand on their own. They are not linked. They are not networked. So we have now started a project to network them and to put CCTV into Negril. And we have started, what? Is how much we reach now, PS? 20-something, 21 cameras in Kingston. And we're also moving into Spanish Town. And then we are going to network them all and create enough space in the back room that we'll be able to take the feeds from privately owned CCTV systems. So all those persons like Prof, not this Prof, that Prof, who have a 11-bedroom house with 14 bathrooms and a CCTV system, we are only interested in the CCTV feeds of the cameras that face in the public space. We have no interest in the cameras that turn inside. We don't want to know what in hell I do with the soap. It looked like that lady around in the middle know about drop soap. So the government is moving to promote that by removing for a limited period duties and GCT of CCTV systems that will be brought into the country. But it has to be of a certain standard. And we have the minimum standards. We have the document here that we can give it. In other words, we're not taking all brock. So let me make that very clear. Pillar number 4 is what I call rehabilitation and redemption. Every one of us have a little one in the family when also up to standard. And every one of us, if you have a child and them commit murder, we find the biggest lawyer to defend the child. Not that you support what the child did, but that done your picnic already. So you have to defend them. And what we find in this country, we have 7 adult institutions and 4 juvenile institutions. We have an inmate population of 3,547, I'm told. And we have an average of, 3,547 inmates. And we have 3,870 plus spaces in our prisons. So there's still a little room for expansion in case anybody wants to come. And the rate of, there's a fancy word that they use. Ms. Gillian, what's the word? Same one. There's a fancy word that the rate is 47%. I can't pronounce the word, so I don't even bother waste my time. It means that those that are there have been there before. And my job is to stop them from coming. And at that rate of 47%, for some small hotels, they'll be doing very well. I have repeat visitors. We have seen an average of 2,033 what is the thing again? Involuntary what? Involuntary Jamaican migrant? Involuntary migrant. Yeah, deportee coming back over the last 5 years. But we must not laugh about it because we too deport people. How much we deported, Mr. Winter, last year? 470 something we deported from our shores. So we're not only taking, it's not a one-way street. A lot of people believe it's a one-way street. We also pack them up and put them on plane. We don't hire no plane though. And we send them, only one time we did hire one plane. Send back the man to Trinidad. We have rehabilitation and strategies to reduce repeat victimization. We are redirecting our inmates from a life of crime. And that is a nice way of putting it. What I have insisted since I have become minister is that we must put back the hard into hard labor. We have too much big greyback man in a prison, I'm glad to go out there and make land or do nothing. So I have been insistent that the prison authorities, as the first goal, that the inmates must produce 1 meal per week for themselves. And I'm told by Senator Charge, who has direct responsibility, that they are now up to 2 meals per week. The taxpayers of Jamaica need a break. You can't have a big hardback man sit down now and name taxpayers money for nothing. So we have restarted the farms and then producing eggs and callaloo. And when they told me that in Spanish Town they don't have any land space to farm, I went to the College of Agriculture, Science and Education and I bought a hydroponic system and they must produce vegetable out of Spanish Town too. We have reclassified our inmates because what we found was a system where in the maximum security prisons you had people with minor things, pickpocket being in the same cell with a triple murderer. And it's one thing I know. The pickpocket not going to convince the triple murderer that he must stop murder and go pickpocket. It's the other way around. So we have reclassified them. And we have put the maximum security people together, the medium security people, and the low risk people together. And we are also, because we are all Jamaicans, and Jamaica is your abiding city. So no matter what happens, no matter where you are, every Jamaican must know that this is home. Whether you are good or whether you are bad, it's still home. This rock is your home. And I never like how them treat the deportees. What you call it again, Miss Gillian? The involuntary whatever. I never like how them treat them. Because it is not all involuntary deportee is a criminal. Because some of them is just little immigration thing them get caught upon. Because some of them is just trying to look a better life for themselves, so then get a farm work yard and then take off. That's how you go. And then catch them and drive too fast on the road because through them not used to good road and then it's a pretty road then. So what we have done, we have dealt with how they are treated when they come. And what we do, we bring all the social agencies into one location so that when they come, they have an opportunity to interact with a network, a safety network. Because some persons would have left here from their children and don't have any family because Buju sing about them. When then they are foreign and a member who they are yard. And when them pack them up with a little plastic bag, then come back. What you call them again, Miss Gillian? And then don't know nobody a yard. So what we have done is that we have sorted out the system so that when they come, they can interact with the NIS people and the PATH people and the National Health Fund people so they can make the application to be a part of the social safety net and be treated with some amount of dignity and respect, just as how you want to be treated when you come home. And those who are determined to become guests at my prisons, we take their name and number and we put them on a monitoring program. We have also introduced what is known as a Chess in Prisons program. And when we introduce it, some persons start to question Minister Charles and him direct the questions to me. But if you play chess, you'll understand that the game of chess allows you to resolve conflicts and it teaches you to be patient. And Minister Charles dreamed up what he calls the We Transform program for juvenile offenders. In other words, he's showing a softer side to the youngsters who are in our juvenile institutions. And because of that, we have many of them, I think 80% of them sat more than 4 subjects at CXC the last time around. Sometimes we buck with 2 when we're young and we need a second chance. And this is what the We Transform program is giving. Because many of the youngsters in our juvenile homes have never been hugged. They have never been hugged. They have never had anybody sit down and talk to them as one human being to another human being. And I want to pause to pay respects to my correctional officers in the juvenile institutions. We're about to sign off on an MOU with Heart Trust and JFLL. That is the old time Jamal. Them new names me can't follow. To teach literacy within the adult population. And we are now moving into the final phase of testing the electronic monitoring of inmates and persons on parole. And the beautiful thing about this program that we have started, I am determined that those who will go on electronic monitoring, the families will have to pay for the monitoring. And let me tell you why. It costs the government and taxpayers $770,000 to keep an inmate in an institution. It costs us about $70,000 to electronically monitor the person. Touch that man there, drop asleep. Yeah, that one, right. You wake him up there for me. No, we're not doing that. But a lot of our people who get themselves into trouble, the families pay expensive defense lawyers to carry the appeal. So if you can pay the expensive defense lawyers, you're going to give my taxpayers a break and pay for the electronic monitoring. And we are completing soon discussions with the Ministry of Justice so that electronic monitoring can become a condition of bail. And it's going to be very important. And let me explain. Prof, just give me 2 more minutes to explain. 143. Bear that figure in mind. 143 Jamaicans have been charged for murder while they are on bail for another serious crime. 143. In one instance, one man is credited with 5 murders while he's on bail. And he never murdered the 5 one time. Murder, go in, bail, come out, murder, go in, bail, come out, murder, 5 times. 143 Jamaicans could have been alive today. But I'm told that bail is a right. So what happened to the right to life of the 143? These are some of the things I get myself into trouble in when I ask these questions. We are repairing our prisons, and the government has made budgetary allocation in this financial year to do more repairs. One of the projects that I am happy that I was able to complete is to build waiting areas in our prisons. I live in St. Mary, and I have to drive past the Richmond prison farm at least 3 times per week. And what I noticed when I was driving past, if sunshine, you see the families out there with their little bag and their little carrier. You know, the old-time carrier with the white enamel carrier, the little angle. And if rainfall, they are out there. And it hit me. It is not the families that we must be punishing. It is the one member of the family. But you know what is on the other side of the wall? The man who is in prison is dry and comfortable. Maybe I watch TV at taxpayers' expense. While the family is out at the gate, getting wet. And something was wrong with that picture. So I'm happy that my permanent secretary found the money and we were able to build waiting areas in our institutions. We must treat our people with dignity. When I became minister, I got an expanded tamarind farm. I was told that a new wing was completed and it could hold 304 more inmates. I was drawn over the coals by my opposition counterpart, who shall soon be moved as spokesman on national security. And I was told why I never opened that facility after 1 year. And I asked the young man not to mention that thing, but to just leave it alone. And he insisted. And I had to inform the House of Parliament that that beautiful thing that he's speaking about is a lovely building at Tamarind Farm, but it was built without any sewage. So if I was to move 304 persons at the Tamarind Farm facilities, now you tell me, I won't even go no further, because we'll just finish lunch. We have also restored the cell phone jammers and cameras that were in our prisons. When I took over, every one of them was not working, and that is why you had some people record song in a prison. And I am determined and insistent that we are going to start, what is the fancy visit, Ms. Gillian? Conjugal visit. I can't call them big words, they come from country. And some persons ask me why. we must begin to humanize and treat with. A lot of us talk about we are Christians. But true Christianity is when you do for the least amongst us. So we're working on that. And we are working on the regulatory framework for the deportation policy. We are strengthening our emergency safety net by effectively reintegrating deportees into our society. We are strengthening the capacity of the local authorities to mainstream migration planning and service provision. Pillar number 5 is what I call effective policing. And before I get into that, I want to be very clear. And I'm going to read what is on the screen. The law gives the right to the commissioner of the police to manage the police force, not the minister. So the minister can't promote a policeman. The minister cannot transfer a policeman. The minister cannot demote a policeman. And the minister cannot plan operations or deploy police officers. It is the responsibility of the commissioner of police, says Section 3 of the Jamaica Constabulary Force Act. The minister has responsibility for policy and to find resources for the police. I want to make that absolutely clear. So when the police don't do their jobs, it's not me. My job is policy and to find the money. But a lot of people, if you listen to them, Montagu cannot do this, Montagu cannot do that, we'll get police, we're going to do that. And when you read Facebook, poor me. I am the minister. I am not the commissioner of police. It was so designed to take politics out of the operations of the police force. This amendment was done in 1994. And if you want me to get involved in the police force, we have to go amend the law again. And I am not inclined to have a politician interfere in the operations of our police. It's my personal position. So pillar number 5, as I told you before, the JCF is operating at 70% of its strength. We lose an average of 500 police personnel per year, and we train an average of 550 police per year. So do the math. A lot of people abuse and curse my Jamaican police officers, but if you go into some countries in the Caribbean, they will tell you that they can't do policing without Jamaicans. If you go into Bermuda, Barbados, Cayman, Aruba, you find the value of the Jamaican police officer because our training program is the best in the Western Hemisphere, bar none. St. Lucia had a problem recently, and they asked us to send 3 police officers to assist. We did, and they don't want to send them back. So I told them that I will come down there with my army. So they send them back. I believe in community-based approach to policing because I believe in the respect for human and constitutional rights. The days when police officers used to kick off people door and plant gun pan poor people picnic, those days are over. Not on my watch. It can happen to a person in the inner city, person from country, it can happen to me. So I believe that the police force must become a partner with the community and to work with the community. We must do police reform so that we can bridge the gap between the institutions and the citizens. We are working to increase our neighborhood watches and our police youth clubs. And we are moving to allow the police to provide immediate services to the community and to treat with domestic violence intervention through our preventative detention program and to help with conflict resolutions. And some of the solutions that we have on the table to help in discharging the duties of the police is the Get the Guns campaign that was started by former Commissioner Dr. Carl Williams, where a certain amount of money was assigned to each type of weapon. So if it's a little spinner, well, revolver for those who don't understand, is one set of money. If it's a 9, another set. Shotgun, well, that's for information to get the guns. So far, we have seized almost 500 weapons between January and June of this year, a 32% increase over last year. And I also want to put on record that the price in the marketplace, based on intelligence, is that the price of an illegal weapon is cheaper than a legal weapon today in this country of ours. We have received 80 of the 200 pre-owned cars acquired and 16 pickups to boost the mobility of the police force. I have been criticized non-stop about my 200 pre-owned cars. I used to say used car, but I was told not to use it. I must say pre-owned cars. And we paid $1.3 million. We were to pay $2.7 for a new car. And I'm a practical countryman. And if a taximan can use a pre-owned car, a police can use a pre-owned car too, because we are in a rich country. And we have to take time with the little money we have. We have to cut the cloth to fit the suit. And if it's pre-owned car we're going to use for the time being, it's pre-owned car we're going to use until all of you wonderful people come home and invest in the country, provide more employment and increase taxes. We are taking possession this very week of 25 mid-sized SUVs for the divisional and area supervisors. What I found was that there were a lack of supervision in the operations because the supervisors had no vehicles. Well, I'm buying vehicles for the supervisors so that they will have their vehicle. Under our program Operation Quick Fix, we were able to repair 114 police cars that were parked in the garage and put them out there that the police officers can get more cars. We have increased the vehicle at checkpoints, and as a result, we are picking up more and more illegal weapons and contraband from off the streets. We have bought 2 big ships, not a little ship. I don't want nobody to misunderstand. When I became minister, we had 3 Coast Guard vessels that I saw parked up in Port Royal. Very imposing and beautiful vessels. And after a month, I still see them there and I keep asking, why they're not patrolling? The chief of staff told me that, minister, if you move them, then sink. So being a good Jamaican who know about courts and thing called hire purchase, we contacted the shipyard. And there was a country in South America who ordered 2 ships, but because of internal social upheavals, they could not take possession. So I made a proposal to cut a little hire purchase. Pay down little, and monthly pay little. And they agreed. And today we have 2 big ships. Patrolling our coastline. And I want you to understand what we face. Apart from the 497 miles of coastline, we have a maritime space that is 25 times the size of Jamaica. And in the first operation of one of the ships, we intercepted a boat from one of our brother countries in Central America. And we found in that boat 1 million pounds of conch shipped out of the Jamaican waters. Conch, wholesale price for Jamaican conch is $4 per pound. So do the math. So my ships start to pay back for themselves on the first operation. We have also taken the bold step. I had proposed to the Prime Minister that we would do this over a 3-year period, but my Prime Minister said, if you're going to do it, ban your belly and just do it now. And we bought ourselves a brand new King Air aircraft to help with surveillance of our coastline and maritime space. We are not going to be getting possession of that aircraft until next year because we're not buying no pre-owned aircraft. We're buying it brand new. So they are building it now, and then they are going to put on the suite of whatever they're supposed to put on. And by the time build up what they are to put on, that will take us until about March, April of next year. If we have survived for 55 years without it, we can wait a couple more months to get it right. We repaired 17 police stations last year and 2 dormitories at the police college. And this month, we launched a program to repair 197 police stations. Not no big repair, you know. But if I spend an average of $2,000 on each police station, that makes a whole heap of difference for the police officers. I went into the Duncan's police station recently and nearly broke my foot. Because as I was walking, my feet got hitched in an extension cord that was coming from upstairs because there was no light downstairs, and I had to plug in the card upstairs, plug it into another card, and plug that into another card, and come downstairs. I went into a police station and the narcotic storage area never had a door. I went into a police station in my constituency, near where the ambassador is from, where the 4 bathrooms in the place were not working, and the officers had to go next door to use bathroom and to bathe. These are some simple things that affect the morale of our officers. My first visit to a police station was the Savlamar police station, and when I went in there, I saw some things that them call bed. And I had to really go Google the definition of bed. Because that was not a bed, that's what I know. And then the mattress was about this thin. And when I went in, well, it wasn't a mattress, a piece of sponge. And I went into the kitchen, there was not even a kettle in the kitchen. So can you imagine a young female constable come off duty at 2 a.m.? Can't even get a cup of tea. And at 2 o'clock, every restaurant locked, so you're hungry. And then you're going to go lay down on a mattress this thin. And then tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, when you wake up and you go out the road, you know, must vex. So when people say the police face sour, you don't understand why. So we're spending a little money, not much, to make life easier for our officers. You know that for the last 22 years, the Jamaica Constabulary Force did not get an issue of raincoats. Raincoats. So all the criminal have to do is wait till rainfall. And if those of you who are from Manchester and the upper regions of St. Ann know that up in Christian and Coleville, cold for true, and they did not get an issue of warm clothing. And I am pleased to announce that we not only purchased raincoats and warm clothing, we have distributed them to the men and women of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. As I said before, we restarted the consultative committees. We are now employing retired police officers and private security guards to assist the police until we have increased the training. We have increased our recruitment drive for the JCF and the JDF. But here is my problem with the recruitment. I don't have anywhere to put the youngsters. Because 3 of the dormitories at the National Police College was not fit for human inhabitation, says the Ministry of Health. And as we speak right now, they are being repaired. We have just completed an additional facility that will take an additional 50 persons at the Harman Barracks training. And we are in discussions with the University of the West Indies to utilize some of their student dormitories for a short-term period to ramp up the training and recruitment so that we can quickly get the 3,000 police officers that we need. We have made a major investments into forensics. So those of us who watch CSI and Law and Order, when you see their crime lab, it pales in comparison on what I have now on Old Hope Road. Well, Hope Road, right by the Ministry of Agriculture. My forensic lab is now ISO certified. Has brand new equipment, some 700 million Jamaican dollars worth of equipment, and some of the best trained Jamaican professionals working in the forensic lab. I believe in science and technology, and we must move away from eyewitnesses and begin to put into the courts more scientific evidence so that we can put away all the criminals. The DNA registry is now up and running, and it is being populated. And let me issue a word of warning. The DNA Act is more liberal than the Fingerprint Act. Under the Fingerprint Act, you have to be by court order before you have fingerprint. With the DNA, as the police pick you up, him can DNA you. So watch yourself. Especially the men. Because many of them have picked me with not phone on name. So watch yourself. We are starting an island-wide e-diary. And one of my greatest wish, and I hope to complete this before the Prime Minister reassigns me or keep me. I would like to drive around Jamaica to every police station and take up the big diary. If anybody has ever walked into a police station and said this big gray book that you want to report a crime, after them write up your name in the big book, the officer then takes a piece of paper and he does this Mass Rupert. Fold the margin. And then him write, Trudy Deans, Consul General of New York, also known as Truths, approximately 5 feet 2 inches, very beautiful young lady. And then he writes his statement on a piece of paper like this. And you know what happened to paper like this? Then last. Right, Bishop Riley? You walk into a police station today to report a case of threat. That Professor Harriet threatened me. And the DC write that up in the big book. Turn the page, go around the back and write, I index it. What happens? They then go and find Prof and warn him and come back and write in the book in red ink, he has been warned. And it done right there, sir. Now what I am proposing is to network all of that so the officer will input that into a system. And when the moment him type in Professor Harriet, there is a drop down. And you find 100 Professor Harriet, 100 Professor Harriet. And then him put in the address, it come down, it filter down. Then him put in the date of birth, you get the right one. And when you click on that now, it tells you that the same man was reported in Hanover and in St. Anne and in St. Thomas for threat. However, he served 6 months in St. Anne because he actually carried out the threat. Now that's a totally different treatment than when you just, the poor DC just believe it's just one case of threat. Now in those station diaries is a host of information that is just thrown down and lost forever unless somebody remember that them did write it. So my aim and goal is to drive around and take up the station diaries and carry them to my office and put them down until such time. So we are moving to acquire some tablets. And last week, I invited some young, bright police officers and the University of Technology. And these police officers are coders, programmers. And I had 25 of them in the ministry with the University of Technology, and we are now doing a program to write that application for use by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, to be written by Jamaicans. So when I told you earlier that I am rounding up some people that they must use the knowledge for good and not for evil, that is what I am speaking about. We are converting some police vehicles to LNG because my gas bill is too expensive. We have 4 vehicles already. We're doing an additional 10. We're going to run them for 6 months and look at the data and to make sure if it makes sense. But so far, we are seeing a 30% savings on the gas bill for the 4 cars that we have. We are merging the databases across the departments in the ministry. I have 7 databases in the ministry, and the 7 of them in serious malice. Them don't talk to one another. And we are creating a fusion center. And ladies and gentlemen, my PS like to call it the big data. And I tell her it's not no big data, it is a fusion. As the minister, when a person comes to the ministry for a meeting with me, I don't know who is this person. And you know, when you finish a meeting with persons, everybody wants to take your picture. And as a good politician, I like to take picture with them too. And shake them and kiss them to Prof. But a young student from St. Mary High School, they came to visit me. And I had them up there. They said to me, how come them just come up so? And if anybody can come up, and if I know who will come up, and suppose one bad man take a picture with me and put it on Facebook. And then it's look like a bolt of lightning. The child was right. Went to a good school, my school, so child had to be right. And yours. And then I said, that is how the idea came of merging the databases. Because I have FLA, prison, JDF, JCF, private security. I might be taking picture with a man who is wanted internationally and see me skin my teeth with him. And through me come from country, me no have no luck. Then all them go fire me from my little work. Because, you know, Prof, when you come from country, you know, your burden is twice as hard as people from town. Then you go here and say, me didn't know the man long time and me and him conspire if you go do all kind of things. And you see me picture all over Facebook and me no have no luck. One of my biggest investments since becoming minister is to invest in the intelligence network of this country. When I invited the operatives within the intelligence network, Captain, I was shocked. Members of the intelligence network, there are 2 police divisions. And I go and call them and say I mustn't do it. Kingston East Division and St. Mary. They are using 286 computers with floppy disk. I never even know that floppy disk still exists. And that is what my people, my intelligence network, was using. So we have invested heavily into the intelligence network. And let me tell you, it is paying handsome dividends. Over the last 2 weeks, we have taken out 2 of Jamaica's most wanted. We have seen an increase in the takedown of weapons. And we are working hard, and the information is flowing and flowing because of that investment in the intelligence network. When I became minister, I realized that the ballistic vests and helmets that the police were using were expired, some 2, some 3, up to 5 years expiry date on the ballistic vests. They were only wearing them for dressing and show. So we bought 3,000 vests and 3,500 helmets and we distributed them. And let me tell you why I'm so happy. On Saturday, Westmoreland and Hanover's most wanted took on the police. In the middle of the road, at 10 o'clock in the morning, the young man fired 96 rounds. He had an Uzi and a Glock. And before that, he took on the police in Petersfield. And he disabled one police car by firing into the engine block. And he drove away, and when the police followed him and took him on down in White House, 96 rounds he fired. And one of the policemen driving one of the vehicles, the guy stood up and fired into the police vehicle. And 2 bullets went right into the middle of the policeman's vest. Luckily, he was wearing one of the new ballistic vests. Today, he is alive. If it was last year, is a dead man that. We bought boots for the police officers. Simple thing like that. Uniforms, combat boots, especially for the female police officers. I have a soft spot for females. Not everybody have a soft spot for females, but I do. Why are you laughing? You have that soft. God bless you, my son. We are building out 10 mobile police stations because sometimes there's a flare-up and you need to move police into an area quickly. We are moving to amend the Constabulary Act to make it a constabulary service. The Proceeds of Crime Act, we are moving to amend that so that you have to explain, what they call it now, you have to do the thing to unexplained wealth. What's that? You're the lawyer, you know, you must help me. Unexplained wealth. In other words, if you say a 14-year-old with an 11-bedroom house and 15 cars, he has to give an explanation how he acquired the wealth, because some of us have to work very hard. And we end up buying one little old Jeep, Cherokee Jeep, and the banker run we down. But a 14-year-old have an 11-bedroom house and 15 cars. We are amending the Fingerprints Act so that we can take fingerprints from articles in the public space. We are amending the Firearms Act and the anti-gang legislation, and we have recently passed the Special Zones of Operations Act. With regards to the special zones of operations, I just want to quickly say that all of Jamaica cannot be declared a special zone. And the special zone, inherent in the Special Zone Act, is what is the intervention committee. Because 5 days after an area is declared a zone, an intervention committee must be named. And that committee has the responsibility of coming up with a sustainable development plan for the area that is declared a zone. The aim of this bit of legislation is to normalize communities that are under stress. So in the past, the police would go in and clear communities, and then the police leave, and it go right back after 2 or 3 years to where it's coming from. When we visited Brazil, and we saw what they did in the favelas, we realized that this thing has to be sustainable. And therefore, the intervention committee was worked into the legislation. And in the zones, you will see increased policing and searching. There will be a panel of justices of the peace where persons can go and lodge complaints and to protect their rights. The aim of the zone is to clear the area of criminals, to hold the area so that the social agencies can come in and discharge their mandate and to build the community for the future. Because every part of Jamaica must be normalized. We are developing partnerships in help to reduce crime. We are establishing an EPOC-type committee for the Ministry of National Security to help us to keep our standards and to keep onto our implementation schedule, because we know we can't do it alone. We are far advanced with discussions with the University of Technology to use technology to disrupt crime. We have signed an MOU with the Jamaica Public Service Company because stealing electricity is a starter crime. And we want to begin to treat with it and to utilize their social intervention programs into many communities. We have also signed an MOU with the Jamaica Umbrella Group of Churches so that our clergy are properly briefed on how and what they are supposed to do when a wanted person hands over themselves. What can you do to help? First of all, I would want you to encourage your relatives to avoid a life of crime. I would want you to also to encourage them to tell what they know to the police. I would want you to encourage them to download the Stay Alert app. And the Stay Alert app is divided into 4 sections. There is the law that gives you a brief overlook on what's in the Jamaican laws. There is a section known as the I-Report. It allows you to send text messaging, voice notes, videos, and pictures to the police of anything that you see that is unusual or suspect. Then there is the alert, which gives you information as the police puts out alert. There's a roadblock, there's a traffic thing, and under the alert, the profile of wanted persons are also made available, so just in case you see a familiar face. And then there's the panic button that allows you to summon the police at the press of a button. The private sector charges $18,000 to provide a panic button. The government of Jamaica is giving it away for free. And therefore, we encourage you to ask your relatives to download the Stay Alert app. Every time you're going to send them credit, ask them if they have the Stay Alert app on their phones. You can call Crime Stop at 311, or you can write what you know, put it in an envelope, write an X on the front of that envelope, and drop it into any post office, and that information will find its way to the police. It's a low-tech method that worked in Hanover when we took out Hanover's most wanted 3 weeks ago. The information came via this method. So there is no excuse for anybody to get information to us. There is the high-tech way, there is the low-tech way, and there is the middle of the roadway. We encourage you to adopt a police station. Many of you are from communities that you don't want people to know that you come from Bush. Everybody are foreign come from Kingston. So we are encouraging you to adopt a police station. To encourage your relatives and friends to form civic groups to work with the local police. We want you to contribute to the purchase of CCTVs, cameras in your community. We want you, as representatives of Jamaica, to obey the laws of the land where you live, so that you are not sent home as an involuntary migrant. We want you to form your own inter-community support groups. We want you to think about offering scholarships to fellow Jamaicans back here. We want you to remain calm, remain hopeful, be assured that we are on the right track, but it will take time, and that we know as a government we cannot do it without you, because what we do and what we do together is done so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity. God bless you all.
Thank you, Minister, for that rather comprehensive overview. Minister,
Did I do it in 10 minutes?
Hold a second, Minister. Minister made some very, very critical, very important points. And he did it so in a humorous way, but the points shouldn't be lost on us. And we'll return to them during the discussion, and we'll return to them in the summing up. But now I want to ask Dr. Rupert Francis, or Dr. Captain Rupert Francis, to come and make some brief remarks.
Good afternoon, members of this forum. I would like to thank the organizers, certainly the minister, for bringing such humor to this occasion. And I am telling you, I didn't know that I was in one of these sessions in Parliament, but now I know what it is like. The minister is in control. But I would say, though, that as a member of the Diaspora, we appreciate everything that you have said. And in the manner that you have said, and in using the Jamaicanness in you to bring it to the audience in such live and living color, and so interesting. Now, we won't have as much time to spend on crime, and from our perspective. But we are hoping to engage this discussion in other areas before the end of the sessions so that we can look at crime from a few more perspectives. But I will tell you that the minister covered a number of areas that we would have liked to have covered as well, but we will not be able to do so. If you look on the monitor, I think we had a PowerPoint, but we'll just go through some of the highlights of it very, very quickly. And I don't know, it was showing, and then it stopped showing. But I would like to say that this room, and I want to thank all of you people for staying, having the patience to stay, and to listen to the deliberations here today. I really think that in a room like this, I was hoping to see more people that had come. I love the patience and I love everything, but I'd love to have seen a few more people in here to deal with the issue of crime and violence in Jamaica. The reason I'm saying that is that Jamaica is ours, as the minister has said. And we need to understand, as he has said, that this crime affects all of us, not just some of us, but all of us. And it's not just the stakeholders who are involved in reducing crime, assisting people in crime throughout, like the police force, the army, and other such institutions, customs, etc. But it's you and me. We are here. We have to, right now, embrace this issue of crime as one nation, one people, with one voice against crime. He spoke to issues that, that some of us turn our eyes. And it seems as if some Jamaicans suffer from what is called, they don't want to get involved. They do not see it as their problem. And we in the diaspora, about a year ago, and I'm not going to be long, we came up with the idea that we're going to join hands with all the people who have had exposure to law enforcement, to criminologists, to psychologists, and to form an eclectic body of men and women to help us resolve this issue of crime. The minister spoke about technology. We have such a task force in motion. And we are asking every one of you in the diaspora to do the same thing. You don't have to have any experience in crime to solve it. Now we're going to go to the second slide. Some people were asking in the first session, what were the reasons for crime? And a lot of you must understand that crime is a biopsychosocial event. In other words, some criminals are the products of their environment. There are very few criminals that are born criminals, but there may be a few. But we have to make sure that we as a diaspora get engaged to make the people of Jamaica understand that we speak and we move as one group of people, not us and them. Because we still have businesses, we still have friends, we still have relatives in Jamaica, and we are just, if you touch us in one side, you're supposed to touch us on the other side. You know something? I walk into a supermarket, and I just have to hear a certain language, and I know there's a Jamaican in the room. Anywhere in the world you go, we have Jamaicans there. And they are willing, they wear their beads, they go to their social gatherings, they eat the Jamaican food, and what have you. And I say, with the minister, it is really time now for action and not a bag of mouth. Many of us have what is called, I was trying to remember, the bystander effect. Everyone else should shoulder the problem, not us. It's not affecting us. But when people can kill, as he says, dog-heart people, can kill people and do not think about it, we have a serious problem. Now, I just have one more, we just want to go to the next slide, please, quickly, and I am going to round up. I want to play that little clip if I can. Can we play it, please? Can we play it? Will it play? I was hoping to indicate to you where this criminality comes from. Oh, there it is? Okay, can we have some sound? No? And I will close after this. Unfortunately, we're not hearing it. But I was trying to indicate by showing this video clip where young people get involved, their families get involved, and they end up in a life of criminality. And what I wanted to indicate is that there, but for the grace of God, goes I. As a young boy from the country, as the minister says, we were exposed to those things too. But having gone through the system and having been helped in the system and having learned in the system, gone to schools, had opportunities, had help from people from abroad and in Jamaica, I am here speaking with you today. And I and my colleagues have committed themselves from all walks of life. And in this very room, if we had an opportunity, we'd indicate that we have members who have worked in the DEA, worked in the CIA, worked in any arm of government to assist the minister, and we've been doing so. And I'm going to have a last minute by saying we've been doing so for almost over a year. We can't talk about some of the things that we have done with the security forces, but I am telling you this, that we are doing it.
We reach a place of high, rusty gates. A confused little boy, I enter the building carried in my mama's arms. Knock, knock. We reach a room of windows and brown faces. Behind one of the windows sits my father. I jump out of my mama's arms and run joyously towards my papa's, only to be confronted by this window. I knock, knock, trying to break through the glass, trying to get to my father. I knock, knock as my mama pulls me away before my papa even says a word. And for years he has never said a word, and so 25 years later I write these words for the little boy in me who still awaits his papa's knock. Papa, come home, because I miss you. Miss you waking me up in the morning and telling me you love me. Papa, come home, because there's things I don't know, and I thought maybe you could teach me how to shave, how to dribble a ball, how to talk to a lady, how to walk like a man. Papa, come home, because I decided a while back I want to be just like you, but I'm forgetting who you are. And 25 years later, a little boy cries, and so I write these words and try to heal and try to father myself, and I dream up a father who says the words my father did not. Dear son, I'm sorry I never came home. For every lesson I failed to teach, hear these words. Shave in one direction with strong, deliberate strokes to avoid irritation. Dribble the page with the brilliance of your ballpoint pen. Walk like a god, and your goddess will come to you. No longer will I be there to knock on your door, so you must learn to knock for yourself. Knock, knock down doors of racism and poverty that I could not. Knock, knock on doors of opportunity for the lost brilliance of the black men who crowd these cells. Knock, knock with diligence for the sake of your children. Knock, knock for me, for as long as you are free, these prison gates cannot contain my spirit. The best of me still lives in you. Knock, knock with the knowledge that you are my son, but you are not my choices. Yes, we are our father's sons and daughters, but we are not their choices. But despite their absences, we are still here, still alive, still breathing, with the power to change this world, one little boy and girl at a time. Knock, knock, who's there? We are.
Thank you. You can stop with that. I want to say, and I'm happy that they played that, because I want you to understand that every boy and every girl in Jamaica has a choice. Their choices are not made by us, their parents. Their choices can be made by them. And what the minister says, and what we'll be saying over the next few days, will be that we'll be working assiduously to make sure that this happens. We are having other sessions to explain these phenomena to you, and I really hope that if you really want to join us, you will see that we gave you a card, and you can put, and we'll give you some more information that you can come to us, and we will be able to talk about it and talk about some solutions, but time is of the essence. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. And now, Dr. Logan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will dispense with protocols and come straight to the action points. We are here to add value, and of course, we will do it in true partnership. From the UK Crime and Intervention Task Force, we have various programs that we are lending support to. Our Beacon project, which is a rehabilitation and problem-solving project that we are exploring with the Minister of Corrections, Senator Purnell, and we hope that it will show real results, because it's not just about working with Jamaica, but it's also Jamaica working with us. It's a two-way process. We know we can learn just as much from Jamaica as Jamaica can learn from the UK, the US, and Canada. Also, it's a pity that Dr. Lola Ramakan had to leave, because she's spearheading a roving caregivers program which, again, she will be, she's still here? Okay, well, hopefully she'll know that we are still backing her project, and with God's grace, it will be seeing real results. And just lastly, we're working with an NGO here in Kingston called Fight for Peace. They're all across the world, and their lead person, Kelly Magson, I don't know if she's still here, but she's been doing some excellent work. I went to see over 100 young people in the Uptown Barracks a couple of days ago, and it was amazing how all those young people from different garrisons were working together. So we're really pleased that we are working at the grassroots level. And I'll close by saying, for us to have a real strategic view, a real insight, we got to look low. And that means going to the grassroots and understanding what they need so it's relevant and real. We need to look low and understand how we can be practical and sustainable. And hopefully, later on in the week, we can go into more specifics. And I wish you the rest of the day, and I look forward to questions later in the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Logan. Before we move into the question and answer, allow me to recognize Honorable Minister Charles. He has joined the panel, so you may direct questions to him if you wish. And of course, the PS in the Ministry of National Security, Ms. Dion McIntosh, who is sitting here with us. So now the floor is open. Can't hear at all.
That's better.
Yeah.
Minister Montagu and the panel, pleasant evening. I'm here from the United Kingdom. I'm a specialist in logistics. My name is Beverly Johnson. I looked at all of the areas you're working in, and we talk about border controls. One of the things I have not heard the ministry addressed is, when are we going to take the footpath off the ports to protect the country? I live in the United Kingdom. I'm in logistics. I've never seen the face of a customs officer. Everything is done electronically. My goods are inspected without my presence. And so you're able to have a better sense of security, the kind of arms and ammunitions you're seeing, the kind of drugs movement you're seeing. If ever we have a port system that operates as a port and an off-port system that deals with inspection, you would have seen a better result in terms of protecting your borders.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
I'm Cecile Wright, Professor Cecile Wright from the UK. I'm also an advisory board member. My question is directed to Minister Montagu. Can I thank you for an outstanding presentation? I came away feeling quite reassured that indeed urgent intervention is taking place in terms of crime and security, and thank you once again. My question relates to areas of taxation and fraud. The presentations this morning that focused on the social services such as health, education, are vital services for a society. They're normally funded by tax through to the public purse, particularly taxation. Could you give me some sense of what is being done to ensure that the public purse is filled with the taxation that it deserves, so that those vital services can be funded through the public purse? Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening to the panel. Again, my name is First Sergeant Delia Espute Jones. I'm a United States Army retiree. And I would like to make some points and a question. Earlier, you spoke about recruitment, and I think that's more internal, meaning in Jamaica. So here are my points. You should never judge a book by its cover, because I spent 22 years in the military, and a lot of people looking at me think that maybe I was in administration because they see the nails, the lipstick, but let me tell you, I'm a decorated veteran. There was also a decorated veteran here as well. I met Jackie 17 years ago when we were fighting the war on terrorism. I retired from the military 13 years ago, and I'm now a veterans advocate in Orlando, Florida. Jackie's in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you know that there are thousands of Jamaicans who have served in foreign military? And what I mean by foreign military, I mean by in the United States Army and all the other branches in the United States, in the UK, and Canada. There are thousands. Do you know that we have several Jamaicans who have not only fought the war on terrorism, but they've also fought in other conflicts? Some of them we have lost. The United States and other nations do recognize those who we have lost, and some of us who have served and still serving. However, during my inquisitiveness, so to speak, I have not seen anything here in Jamaica that is being done to bridge the gap to not only recognize those who we have lost, those who are serving in any way, form, or fashion. Also, my other point is this. We have learned so much, both technically and also proficiently, what to do in the military and outside of the military. We have gained so much knowledge, and I have yet to see how we can bring that back into Jamaica. I have worked in Afghanistan as a civilian since I've been retired from the military with the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police, and it wasn't easy. But I've done that because I was sent there and paid to do a job to teach them some of the things that the military taught me to do. And I would love to do that here in Jamaica, but I don't see the vehicle that's there. So my question is, how do we bridge that gap to take people like Jackie and myself and the many other service members who have served and would like to come back to Jamaica to, give our knowledge and expertise to make this a better place as far as security is concerned? Thank you.
Hold a second. Let's hold a second. Yes. Please go ahead.
Hi, Andrea Ewart from the USA. I'm not an expert on this topic at all, but speaking as someone who follows the whole pattern of trading and investing both in here in Jamaica and elsewhere, as the minister rightly pointed out, corruption is a deterrent. I did think, however, that the instances the examples that were given of corruption were a little disingenuous in the sense that that's the corruption that happens at the lower scale. And it in fact is supported because people see it happening at so many levels of the society. Just to take one of the examples from your presentation where you talked about what comes in through the legal points of entry, some of that has got to be facilitated by corruption other than the types of the examples that you gave. So I would invite the minister and anyone else on the panel who feels so inclined to talk about the corruption that happens at the higher levels of society and what is being contemplated to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last question.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sineil Smith. I represent the National Youth Parliament. I wouldn't want to believe or perpetuate that the Ministry of Security isn't doing anything, but I believe that there is a lot more that we can do, especially at the secondary level, or maybe lower at the primary level. As a student at the secondary, I found that schools administration did not take students with behavioral problems seriously. And I feel like that is one of the root causes of the crime problem that we're having now in the broader society. As a former board member at St. Jago High School, countless times when students came to the board to be expelled or to be suspended, I just feel like enough energy, enough creativeness was not employed in the process of rehabilitating these students. I just feel like schools want to get them out of the system so that these students do not make the schools look bad. But the bigger picture is that when they leave this school, this small community, they are filtered out with no proper guidance, feeling like the system is against them. And when they feel that way from a very young state, that Jamaica doesn't care about me, the state doesn't care about me, they know, as defensive beings, want to do things to protect themselves. Protect themselves by means that may not be in the best interest of themselves or the country. So my question is, what are the plans from the ministry's point of view or the ministry's position to partner with schools so that students who give troublemakers, can be fixed, for lack of a better word, can be helped, can be nurtured, can be developed to become functional citizens in Jamaica and not become a part of the problem that we have now?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask the panelists who are responding to the questions to do so from here. Do you want to go first? Okay, and you don't have to respond to all of the questions because I think most of them were directed at the minister.
I know, I'm not. I understand that. But the two that affected me, I'm a veteran myself, okay? Thank you. I served 10 years with the regulars, 10 years with the colors in the United States. I mean, in the Jamaica Defense Force, sorry. And so I've had some experience. I do, however, will tell you, on our boards and our grouping, we of nearly about 200 to 300 people, we have a lot of veterans. We have the first Navy commander, Denise McCullough-Cleary, in the United States, honored by the President. She's also on our panel. We have Captain Mike. You know, I could go on and on and on. We encourage you. As a matter of fact, you're in Orlando. Well, I'll have to link you up with our team there, which the minister will tell you he had a great time with them, speaking with the task force. So we have an opportunity for everyone who wishes to come forward in the United States and outside the United States. We are mainly the people that are on the diaspora thing now is from, on the task force, sorry, is from the United States. And we welcome you, we welcome your ideas. And by the way, you do not have to have gone into Afghanistan or anywhere to serve, but we'd love to know that because we want to talk to you. The second point I'm going to make is, and I know the minister is going to handle that one, but the lady with, I didn't get her name before the last person spoke. She spoke about corruption. Yes, I agree. There's corruption, throughout the society, and in fact, the police has been blamed for a lot of things that are going on, and but personally, how we have looked at it is that we're not in the blame game. We are trying to make sure, because you can't fire 10,000 people. It's impossible. And so we want to work with what we have because they're good. I believe that the tail is wagging the dog. I really believe it's a few people out there that are really bad, and they have done so many things that it grabs the attention of the nation. And we are afraid. We are afraid. But I'm saying to you, let us not be afraid. Let us come forward and let us show them that they don't run things. Absolutely. It must be done. And we can sit more around, we'll have our opportunity. The last thing, the young lady who bravely got up and talked about we have a gentleman in the audience right now, Dr. Nelson, sitting here. I was hoping to have brought him, to discuss this very idea. We have another gentleman also that we are trying to infuse in all the nation's schools karate to give a discipline. And they're sitting right there in front of me now. You have in their midst a man who is the only member of the Hall of Fame in karate in the world, right there, Newton James. He's Jamaican and been working for the past year to design a program. We have a lot of programs, but unfortunately, or fortunately, our goodly minister, who I love so much, took up, we could not give you all of that. But you are welcome to come to our other events and to listen to the programs and plans that we have and we have put in place with the auspices of the minister, of course, with his blessing, and the junior minister. And I want to thank you very much, and we can talk again after this session. Thank you.
Regarding the skills of US veterans having more of a structured way to work with Jamaica, I think it's there's resources that are being left to wither on the vine, and we really need to at least scope them out, map them. And one of the things we were doing in the UK, whenever we have a board meeting, and in fact Rupert has been very good like that, he will actually get a skills audit. So I think there could be a skills audit for retired officers, whether military or police officers. I'll be the first one to fill one in, because I really think that not only are those skills not being utilized, but they have a real cultural intelligence, a cultural competence that can really have that shared and common experience with their counterparts over here. And also, I think it has, you know, we do it with the goodness of our heart. You know, we're not asking for some big, expensive salary with all the perks. We're willing to do it because we love our country. Next thing about the corruption. Again, we're recognizing that corruption is the elephant in the room at all levels. We have to call it as it is. And as a result of that, we need to start, I believe, from the bottom up. I'm not saying that there is more of a propensity for corruption at the grassroots level, but I think it's got to be a bottom-up approach. And so we're looking at developing an integrity club. It's been used in Malaysia and in Nigeria, and as a result of that, we have seen how it's mushroomed into the parents and also wider communities. And we're looking at using the Jamaica Alumni Association and the Ambassadors Program to go into schools to help to develop those integrity clubs. So that's just, I think, a practical application. It doesn't solve it all. It's not the silver bullet, but at least it is something that is explicitly saying that these issues have to be addressed. And just last thing from Denise Smith, the Youth Ambassador, I think everyone is starting to recognize that we can't arrest our way out this problem, especially when we don't know how people are being traumatized on a day-to-day basis. Even today, on the way here, I was driving downtown, and people just walking in front of cars and everything. And and it's not like it's perfect in the UK. We're seeing that over 40% of people excluded from schools have some form of mental challenge. 40%. So if it gets measured, it gets done. And as a result of that, they're starting to move from the crime just enforcement model to the more public health model. So it's not just enforcement, but you have the support services to go with it. Now, I know there's infrastructure challenges around that, and I know as a superintendent in the Met, I had a whole backup of forensics specialists on all forms. I know my counterparts over here don't have it. But again, I think it ties in with the early questions when they said, listen, we have resources of retired officers who've got these skills. Let's utilize them. Let's just work smarter and not just harder. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the two doctors. And also thank you very much for those who gave the comments. With regards to the ports, we have, first of all, the customs, Jamaica Customs Agency does not fall under the Ministry of National Security. But I know we did a partnership, and they have now introduced the Asakuda system, where the whole matter of custom fees is now automated, and it ties in with a worldwide network system that is being used in other ports. So with regards to the ports, we have dealt with that, and we are moving to treat with some of the things that you raised, in addition to border security, in addition to the ships and the plane. We have also, through PICA, introduced a facial recognition software in the passport application system. And I think we have had some 73 persons now who are before the courts for having multiple passports. One person, I believe, had what, 7 passports? 6? 6 passports out of the UK superintendent. One man, 6 passports. So we have introduced the facial recognition system. We are upgrading our border information system and the citizenship program. We are moving to upgrade that process, and to have one of the features of that upgrade, I've insisted with PICA, is that we must have at least 4 swearing-in ceremonies for new citizens who are taken through, and we are upgrading the permanent residency program, because a lot of persons don't know that we do offer permanent residency in Jamaica. And yes, it's not only America give green card. We give, it's a yellow card we have now, a big yellow book. Yeah, right, so we do the yellow card in Jamaica. So we do have a permanent residency program, but it is one of the best kept secrets. So we are moving to treat with that. With regards to the taxes, I think my cousin from the UK raised the matter of taxes. And what the new administration is doing, and continuing on the work of the previous administration in tightening up the loophole in the taxes, a lot of work has gone into changing a lot of the legislation to take out, for example, a lot of the waivers. The Minister of Finance had the authority once to just apply a waiver, just an application. That is no longer. The Minister of Finance has a quota of only $10 million that can be waived. So a lot of Jamaicans tend to ship things home. Oh, we're shipping home for the clinic, we're shipping home for the church, we're having something for the school, and when the goods arrive, then they call the local councillor, MP, and say they need a waiver because they're carrying some things. That cannot work anymore. Before you ship, you have to make the application to the Ministry of Finance. You do get the waiver, and you have to pay 5%, and then that is the letter you take to customs. So we are encouraging persons that before they ship, they make the application and get the waiver letter to customs. Also, the amendment to POCA, the Proceeds of Crime Act, is also making sure that people pay their just amount, because one of the methodology for declaring your wealth, explaining your wealth, is a tax return. So that if you have assets, you have to show that you would have paid your just taxes on those assets. And just for information, the Minister of Finance recently informed the Parliament that we are $5 billion in revenue over what we had projected for this time of the year. So we are doing much better than we had programmed, but there's still a lot of taxes out there to be collected. With regards to the Army veteran, I want to congratulate you, madam. You do not look like you are 21 years old, much less to have served for 22 years. I was wondering why they allowed this young lady in the room. And I want to congratulate you on your service. And you are Jones Esquire. Espute Jones. You're not related to Peter Espute? So you're a Roman Catholic? Okay. And the black version is normally the better looking version. I want to make sure of your name so I can avoid you because you're a 22-year-old operational veteran. I won't ask you what brigade or what unit you served in because I kind of suspect. The recruitment of overseas veterans, it's a solid idea. It is an idea that we have explored in another era, but I must caution that there is a huge, depending on who, we have had an experience in the ministry, and that is why I want balance. We were short of a forensic pathologist, and through the Diaspora, we got in touch with a gentleman who is Jamaican, and he volunteered that he would come and assist us, free of cost. However, he wanted 4 first-class tickets. He used to come Thursday evening and leave Monday morning, and he would work on the weekends. So each time he's coming, he wants 4 first-class tickets. He has to stay in a 5-star resort. He has to have a luxury SUV and driver and security. And he mentioned the type of towels he wanted to be in the bathroom and the type of water. It would have been cheaper if he charged us. And the Burmese government got in touch with us and the Cubans, and they have made available their citizens to help us, because to do a forensic autopsy, there's sometimes a waiting period of up to 2 months. So but we have addressed it because we have given scholarship to some Jamaicans who are now studying overseas. We have put a Cuban on contract. So we are now up to 4 forensic pathologists. So while I would be very happy to engage Captain Doctor in that discussion and as the superintendent said, we need to have an audit of the skills that are available and how we can work together. Because some persons are just out of our range. I must admit that. While we would want the skill set, in some instances we just can't afford it because there are other priorities that are facing me. But I, at every turn, would want to work with my Jamaican brothers and sisters. With regards to Ms. York, up at the top, who spoke to corruption, as was said before, we have to deal with it from the bottom up. And in my remarks, I said a lot of persons only believe their politicians are corrupt, but I was giving the example, and I also went further on to clearly indicate that you have some entry-level crimes like stealing electricity, which is also corruption, by throwing up a wire on the network. But corruption runs right throughout the society, and a lot of us want to sweep it under the carpet or leave it alone, and as the prof said, it's the big elephant in the room, and I'm happy I placed it on the table that I got a response like that. So it means that I was right to put it on the table, and I want to thank you for your observation. Mrs. Smith, the student rep, spoke to student behavior problems, and this is one of the issues that we have to confront in the Ministry of National Security. We are not a social agency. We are not a social agency, but we are being asked to address a lot of the social ills. And I just want to put it on the table that we are not a social agency. However, the police has, through the Police Youth Club program, we have moved to do the iPad Camp series, spearheaded by Deputy Commissioner Novelet Grant. And she has been able to impact some 15,000 youngsters who she pulls, troubled youngsters. They are chosen by the schools of those who are always giving problems. And she has them in a 2-week camp. And she, this year, is moving the camp from parish to parish. She will be in St. Mary. I think she was in Clarendon recently, and she was in St. James. She finished St. James last weekend. I think she's moving into St. Mary right after the holidays. But that is but one issue. We understand the problem. There's a 30% absenteeism, and that runs right through the system. And this is where the gangs recruit from. But the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is moving also to address that, as well as the Office of the Prime Minister through the HOPE program. And as a result, that collaboration, they are employing this summer, this year, some 25,200 youngsters to get into the apprenticeship program, to get into on-the-job training and training separate from the normal heart intake. Because we have a lot of youngsters out there, we call them unattached youth, that they are doing nothing. And the aim of the Prime Minister is that every Jamaican youth between the age of 13 to 18 must be attached to something. Whether they're going to high school, whether they're doing an apprenticeship, whether they're doing an internship, whether you're doing the on-the-job training, but you must be attached to something. In addition to that, the Ministry of National Security, through the Unite for Change program, is working. As a matter of fact, we are recruiting now a young lady to head that, specifically to collaborate with our schools, because we do recognize that a lot of the gangs and the gang members are coming as a result of persons who are marginalized, stigmatized, misdiagnosed within the school system, and they are left out. And Senator Charles is also working with the cadets within the high schools to treat with it. But the real answer to this is parenting. And parents must take responsibility for their children. When the schools have PTAs, meetings, it is not normally those with children who are giving problems that turn up at the PTA. It is those that the teacher really and truly don't want to see. Those that teacher want to see don't normally turn up. And many times, a lot of these parents, on the first day of school, they are there with their children, well dressed and decked out. And the next time teacher see them is graduation. So for 5 years they carry the child and they disappear. And it has to be a partnership between the state agencies and the parents, because there is something known as parental responsibility. And a lot of people believe they must just have children and somebody else must take care of them. God will provide. My God indeed will provide. But he has also given you a brain, a hand, and also given you the will and the need and the means and the ways to provide. And if we have children, the first stop, the first port of responsibility is for the parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Now, it's my duty to try to summarize the last 2+ hours proceedings, and I'm going to use a simple 3-3-3 formula to try to do that summary. 3 big ideas, 3 action points to be summed up in 3 minutes. So first, the 3 big ideas. The first is the idea of policy continuity that was stressed in the minister's speech. I believe this is very, very important for the future of the country. It's the only way that we are going to get successful outcomes, successful programmatic outcomes, because programs, by definition, last over a fairly long duration of time, typically beyond the lifetime of any single political administration. So we will get nowhere on the core things, the important things, unless there is policy continuity across political administrations. So I'm thankful that the minister raised and acknowledged that point. Related to this is the idea of building 2-party consensus. And on that basis, social consensus. Because the 2 parties lead, and they have huge followings within the society. The vast majority of Jamaicans take their policy cues from the 2 parties. And the criminal justice system, any serious effort to reduce crime in this country requires the support of the population. And not as PNP and GLP, not as uptown and downtown, rural and urban, but as Jamaicans. And the way to get that is to have and build the 2-party consensus. So that's the first big idea. The second big idea is the move towards comprehensive programming. That was very, very evident in the minister's presentation, and I think it represents important progress in our policy thinking. I've been around for quite a while, as you can see from my gray hairs and other things. And that debate has moved forward to where we are now. I believe that some appreciation for the policy-making capacity of the ministry is in order, but it requires a leadership at the political level and clear policy signals. And I'm delighted that we are moving in that direction. There were some specific things, new ideas in the minister's statement. I don't have time. I want to stick to my 333 formula, but I'm just going to highlight one idea to make a larger point. He spoke of revisiting the idea of rehabilitation through work. Seems a simple, very, very old, more than 100-year-old idea, right? And we had some programming along those lines that were very, very successful in Jamaica at one point. And we need to return to that idea for the reasons that he gave. But I want to add one simple reason. I normally would take my students to visit the prisons every year. And I remember this visit, we went to Tamarind Farm, which has the low-level first offenders and so forth. And I spoke with this offender who was engaged in farming callaloo. And during the process of the conversation, he explained to me he would go to the market, Coronation Market, and simply pick up the vendors' things every Friday and Saturday morning. And he said, when he visited Tamarind Farm, have you noticed my word, he visited, he was involved in this farming business, that he discovered that you actually have to plant this thing and to weed and to water and to tend it. He was totally disconnected from the world of work and how callaloo is grown. He thought it just fell from the sky. They took it to Coronation Market. Very, very simple, but it has stuck in my mind and remained there forever, right? So, Minister, you're on to a good thing here. My final point connected to this is that, look, why I mentioned that it's a revisiting of an old program is that we will only go forward if we learn from our mistakes. So we must learn what went wrong, evaluate the old program so that we don't make the same mistakes and go around in circles, right? That's the point that I would add. And the third big idea was the improvement in how the criminal justice system treats with people. And Minister gave a number of examples. I won't repeat them or add anything new to that. I just want to recognize the idea because it really is important to get the support of our people and to actually put more justice in the criminal justice system. I'm giving you a slogan, Minister, all right? And make it actionable, which is my second 3, the action points. And I'm going to be very, very quick here now to stay within my 3 minutes. First, there was a suggestion of adapter station. I really believe that this is an important thing. We have had some experience with it again. It's not just diaspora people adopting a station, but there can be a partnership with institutions that are here, with you who are there, to make this thing work and to sustain it over time. It really is worthy of follow-through. And secondly was the network building put in different ways. Dr. Logan put it as a skills audit and a kind of skills bank. I really think that would be an important asset for the country and for the kinds of changes and improvements that we want to make in our criminal justice system. Vast experience in different settings. You're all Jamaicans. We need to make the best of it and present you with opportunities to participate, without the luxury hotels, of course. But I think that is really a worthwhile venture. And finally, the rehab program. Dr. Logan specified a beacon project. And I think the back end is very much neglected. And I trust that you will discuss that issue further. So That's my 333, or was it 333 plus? It may have been a little plus. But thank you all for your participation and your patience. Have a good evening and productive discussions tomorrow.
Moderator Professor Anthony Harriott summing up the third and final plenary session of the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference under the topic Safer for Alloway. Professor Harriott is director of the UWI Institute of Criminal Justice and Security, and for this session we heard from the Minister of National Security, Robert Montagu. We heard from the Diaspora Crime Prevention and Intervention Task Force, Dr. Rupert Francis, and we also heard from Dr. Leroy Logan, who is from the United Kingdom.
Absolutely, and of course we will continue tomorrow with further sessions starting at 8:30. Tomorrow, the major focus areas will be the overview of the EGC growth initiatives and policy recommendations. There will be Global Connect Jamaica, which involves initiatives for engaging and harnessing the power of the diaspora and opportunities for diaspora investment, expertise, and philanthropy. And the final major area to be covered tomorrow is the potential value of the diaspora to Jamaica's growth agenda. Presenters include the Honorable Darrell Vaz, Member of Parliament, the Honorable Michael Lee Chin, and Dr. David Panton. I'm forgetting one, Miss Shanique Smart, who is a research officer at Capri. We
do hope you will join us again tomorrow morning right here at 8:30. But before we go, we're going to be hearing from a member of NAJASO, the North American Jamaica Association of Diaspora Groups, that has been working since 1977.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. Sure. Appreciate it.
All right, here we have with us Mr. Roy Davidson of the National Association of Jamaican and Supportive Organizations.
Yes, sir.
It has been around for a while.
40 years. Yeah. We celebrated 40 years.
Indeed, starting from 1977, right? So tell me a little bit about NAJASO.
Well, I'm pleased to report that NAJASO is really the forerunner of the Jamaica diaspora movement. When in 1977, the fourth ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Carl Rattray, he thought more or less that we're having some major issues in the United States in terms of economic problems, immigration issues, and also discrimination. And at the same time, Jamaica was having some economic problems. So Ambassador Rattray invited all the leadership of NAJASO representatives, member organizations in the United States to join him in Washington, D.C. to discuss some of the problems that we had. And the outcome of that was the formation of NAJASO, because at that time we were just over 200 splinter groups all over the United States.
So that's the association part that's being played up in the name. All right, and you say you have been around for 40 years.
40 years.
All right, so what are some of the things that NAJASO has been up to in those 40 years?
Excellent. Well, the first thing we did was we were such a well-oiled machine that we were the diaspora. So we came to Jamaica and the full support of the Jamaican government.
Awesome.
And then now we were so good that we were well organized in the United States. So we went to Canada and formed the Canadian Association.
Nice.
Then we went to United Kingdom and formed the United Kingdom Association.
All right.
After the whole formation of that movement, now Dr. Gilpin did a research in the tri-state of the United States in terms of how we could really develop the diaspora.
Yes.
And to get representatives from the United States, Canada, and UK to help Jamaica. So we presented a report to the Jamaican government. At that time, it was P.J. Patterson. P.J. gave the report to Delano Franklin, and the rest is history. We are coming out of that. Delano and the P.J. Patterson, they invited over 500 Jamaicans all over the world to come to know what is known as the Jamaican Diaspora Conference. And that's the beginning of the diaspora, where the NAJASO helped to form the diaspora to really pull resources coming out of US, Canada, and also other parts, Canada and UK, to
Yes.
help Jamaica.
Yes. So,
well, one of the things though that happened is individuals were invited to conference.
Right, right.
And they came in and then they went back to their home countries. And what we found out now is that the diaspora is really a movement of a people.
Definitely.
Everyone is invited to come to conference to share best practices and to work with the government of Jamaica to help Jamaica.
Yes.
So we regard the diaspora then as a more of a governmental system, a movement, and not an organization.
I understand.
You know,
I
they all
understand.
come and they all support the country. What we do now is we are a member-to-member organization,
Right.
and we are a subset of the diaspora movement.
All
And
right.
coming out of the of Najaso, we are the ones that offer the scholarship at the University of the West Indies for the
Yeah.
past 25 years, the Marcus Garvey Scholarship. And the one thing that I wanted to share with you is the book Najaso, A Catalyst for
Right.
Change.
Right.
Because up to celebrating our 40th anniversary, what we did was we placed information, history in the book.
Right.
In terms of...
And this is the book right here.
Yes. And so
right.
anyone wants to have a copy of the book, they could go to www.createspace.com.
Right.
And one of the chapters in the book talks about Jamaicans moving into the United States for over 340 years. And that every significant change that was made in America, Jamaicans have a part to play in it.
So the book sounds like an excellent read.
Right.
And the history of Najaso for 40 years, it sounds very storied.
Okay.
And in fact, you're saying that it's the reason why we're even sitting here today at
Yes.
the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference.
Yes.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us.
Thank you.
And as we wrap up the interview, though, the last thing I'd like to ask you, we've completed day one. What are your expectations for the rest of the conference?
Well, I'm hopeful that we will, coming out of the conference, that we'll get to the point where we invite the leadership in the diaspora next time to the conferences.
All right.
You know, it's individuals, but I'm pushing that basically we send out letters and invitations all over the world to all the presidents of the various organizations to come into conference so that they can bring back a mandate to their respective constituents.
Excellent.
But, you know, I'm very impressed. The ministers and the government is very supportive of what's happening, and they're very open to share with us what is happening so that we as Jamaicans can assist with the growth and development of Jamaica. Remember now, in the United States, there are over 3 million Jamaicans.
Yes.
And worldwide, there are 5 million. So if we can partner together, work with our people, then I know we can transform Jamaica.
Absolutely.
And we have to remember our history.
Yes.
You know, since 1655, the different various groups came into the island. And what they do is they will come in and help with economic development, and then they take it out of the country.
Right, right.
But Jamaicans, we're always dedicated to our country, and we'll stay here.
And that's the theme, you know, partnering for growth.
Right.
Coming together and partnering for growth. Thank you, Sir Davidson, for taking some time to speak with us. And we have just closed off the first day of the Jamaica Diaspora 55 conference. We have had 3 sessions from morning, first focusing on healthcare, education, and finally on security. And if you join us again tomorrow, we'll be picking up once again right here at the Jamaica Conference Center at 8:30. On behalf of Lorraine Walker-Mendez, the entire JIS team here, who this stream is courtesy of, and myself, of course, Theodore Henry, we say good afternoon for this evening and join us again tomorrow online, same time, same place.
Thank you.